All right.
So the first
Okay.
mistake that people make is actually to skip that part and then
Yeah,
go to
true.
other people.
Definitely.
Yeah, and go to like other people who already like got the scholarship. Well, story time. I got rejected 5 times before I got into NYU.
Okay, you got rejected 5 times. All right, it was a
5
lot.
by 5 different universities.
Okay, so what's up, guys? Welcome to our second podcast. Okay, so right now I'm going to invite another new guest. Why do I want to invite her? It's because, well, of course, she's one of our teachers here in Discovery English. And the second one, well, I can say that she used to be nothing, but right now she turns into something. Okay, she comes from the small city on East Java, but she could create her dream to study abroad in the United States, especially in New York. Okay, so please welcome Anindya here.
Hi.
Yay! Okay, so
Hi.
good afternoon, Anindya. You good?
Good afternoon. I'm good. Thank you so much for
Okay.
inviting me to today's podcast.
Yeah.
I'm really
Okay,
excited about
great.
it.
Wait a minute. So, are you wearing the New York? What is that? Jumper there?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, so that is something that you're really proud of, yeah.
Yes. Yes, of course. Of course, I'm proud of my university.
All right. Okay, all right then. So today we're going to talk about your journey, how to get the scholarship to go there. Okay, so how could you create, how could you achieve your dream for studying abroad, especially in the United States? Okay, because I guess that like studying abroad is always becoming like everyone's dream. Okay, especially educators, right? And then like many people are challenging. Like they try to do multiple challenge for getting a scholarship, because I know that getting a scholarship is not that easy. You need to compete with hundreds or even 1,000 of people, all right? And then you need to have, I can say you need to have an X factor to be chosen by the government, right? By the scholarship providers. Okay, so in this case, we're going to like strictly jump into your story. Okay, so how could you get the scholarship to go there? Okay, so I already prepared a list of questions here, so you can answer my questions. Then my first question is, of course, you get. Sorry, you could study in the United States just because of the scholarship, right? So that's what I heard, though. My question is, what kind of scholarship can bring you to the United States?
Okay, so I took my master's in the United States, more particularly in NYU. So in the US, if you want to study the master's, it's very rare that the university provides scholarships for it, which is quite different if you want to study PhD, because there's a lot of like in-university scholarship for the PhD program. But for master's study, most of the times you are required to get scholarship from outside of the university. Two of the most famous ones are Fulbright scholarship from IMF. So it's from the U.S. government, and the other one is, of course, LPDP, which is from the Indonesian government. One of the ways that you could start your research is to actually visit the U.S. Embassy website. I think they provide a lot of information about that. You could also link yourself to the Education U.S.A, which is kind of like the like education counselor office for those who are interested in studying in the US. So you could start from there.
Okay, so it means that, so if I'm not mistaken, previously you mentioned several links. So probably later on we're gonna put those links on the description down below, right? So that so that's gonna be great, so that everyone who like see our podcast right now, we can easily navigate them to certain link that you've mentioned before, right? Okay, then, so wait a minute. So previously you said that there were two scholarship providers, right? So the first one is the Fulbright, which is provided by the US government, and the other one is LPDP, right? Which is provided by our government, right? Okay, so how do we choose the right scholarship for us? Like, so like which one is better? Like the scholarship provided the United States government or the scholarship provided by our government? Could you explain more about that?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting question. But first of all, they're not the only organization who provide scholarship, but they're definitely the most famous here in Indonesia, and people mostly do that. One thing is that it's important to actually understand the different nature of each scholarship, because they have different vision, like they have different goal, and it's important to understand that in order to market yourself according to that. So first of all, always read around the scholarship. So the first mistake
Okay.
the first
Wait a minute. So
mistake,
before you deeper, always read around the scholarship handbook, you mean?
yeah, like the handbook, the website.
All right.
So the first
Okay.
mistake that people make is actually to skip that part and then
Yeah,
go to
true.
other people.
Definitely.
Yeah, and go to like other people who already like got the scholarship. I don't
Exactly.
want to say that going into like seminars, workshop, and then watching like podcasts like this are not beneficial. Of course, it is helpful, but do that after you actually read the website and the handbook of the scholarship that you're interested in, because organization change a lot in years, and the experience of someone who got the scholarship, for example my experience getting the scholarship in 2016 might be very different with the reality now, and the closest that you could get is actually read the website, read the LPDP website, read the AMINF website, and find out what are the requirements. Also, read about the organization, see what their visions are, because that will give you kind of like the picture of what kind of person they're looking for. And then you could brand yourself, kind of like create your personal branding to meet the requirements and what the scholarship are looking for in a person.
Okay. Okay. So your explanation was actually really amazing. So, but previously you've mentioned several things like how do you call it? The market. You need to market yourself first thing first, and the other things that the handbook. Okay. So I guess that most people usually skip the handbook, right? They usually skip the handbook. They usually skip the information exists on the website or even the handbook, so that sometimes they just like directly jump into the application form. Am I right? Yeah. So that's most of the things that done by people. But in this case, so the vision. So we need to brand ourselves to meet the visions of the organizations. Okay, and the other things is. He also mentioned that the issues mostly changing. All right. Okay. But but something that I want to confirm is mostly the vision will not change. Okay. Most of the visions will not change, but maybe the theme is going to be changing, right? For example, something that I remember about the Australian Award Scholarship at that time was actually finding a leader. Okay, so leadership is actually the biggest issues there, like the biggest vision. But the theme is always changing. Like mostly like this year, let's say it's gonna be how do you call it? Like the social educations, and then next year is gonna be medical, like that. Okay, so in this case, as the how do you call it? As a participants or as an audience who want to apply the scholarship, we need to follow that guideline.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you brand yourself then right now? So that's my questions. How do you brand yourself so that it can meet the requirement, it can meet the vision, it can meet the theme of the how do you call it, of the organization?
Yes. Okay. So I'll talk about my experience when I applied to the LPDP scholarship. So at that time, the thing that I remember the most is that so I majored in English literature, and I'm interested to study English literature, which is considered to be part of like culture. So what I remember is that LPDP at that time has this kind of like priority ranking of what major they're looking for. If I remember correctly, at the time, engineering and maritime study are at the top, because for them, they need someone who can contribute and give back according to like more of like a nation scale plan. And I guess at that point, culture was not really their priority. So
Mostly the culture is going to be at the lowest, am I
yes,
right?
it is like at the if not very bottom, I think it's like second to the last priority.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. So it's going to be
Yeah.
on the second from the bottom.
Yeah,
All right.
so it's already like a problem for me who wanted to
Okay.
study English literature.
Uh-huh.
But there's a loophole there is that education was fourth in the priority ranking, so it's quite it's quite high, and
Okay.
it was
Education,
good. Yeah,
alright.
education, and it was good for me
Okay.
because eventually I want to teach. So what I do is that even though I'm interested in literature as like a major, I try to market yourself and I try to brand yourself and write my motivation letter, write my personal statement, and then write my study plan in a way that I push that educational side of my my major more than the cultural aspect of it. So
Okay. So
so
you're
yeah.
trying to connect the dots between
Yes,
the literature and
yes.
education.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
all right.
so trying to connect the dot and just kind of like explain like how could I, if I were accepted and then I studied literature, I could contribute in the education in this country. So that's just kind of like one of the ways that you could create that personal branding and market yourself correctly for like a particular scholarship provider. So that was the story of 2016. Now you have to look for like this year LPDP and see like what priority they have. Of course, things like leadership and creative
Yeah.
thinking, design thinking,
Creative thinking.
yes,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
something
yeah,
is something that it's kind of like a universal value that people want to see from you, and there's no it's always good to just promote yourself like that, but it also has to be specifically related to your major, because if we talk about leadership, everyone can say they have leadership.
True.
Yeah,
That's it.
everyone-
Yeah, well,
everyone
everybody
can
say that I have a
yeah,
leadership
I
skill and
have,
yeah,
yes,
true.
yes. But how would you show the concrete proof of it, and then say that of course I have leadership, I have creative thinking, I'm really good at design thinking, but also that would help me to kind of like arrive at my goal, which is to contribute to this country in this way. So that's making that kind of connection between your personal values, what you have, and then your aim, what's your goal in the future, and what the scholarship need in a person. Having connected that 3 points will actually create just a beautiful personal journey that could show the scholarship provider that, well, this person is worth it. I just kind of so it's kind of like that.
Okay. Wait. So when we have how do you call it? Try to connect those 3 points that you've mentioned before, but of course that we still need to compete with other competitors, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it means that, well, I guess that's something that you've mentioned was actually one of the best way. Okay, one of the best way to write your personal statement, your essay, right? But so my question is, well, let's say like 1,000 participant knows how to write the best essay like that. So it means that you still need to have to compete with 1,000 participants.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. True. Well, so if you want to get the big idea, so it would means that we need to convince the scholarship providers that we can do this, we can do that, and then we can contribute to the scholarship providers.
Yes, definitely. So the idea is that everyone will do the minimum requirements. Like everyone.
Yeah. Everyone will do the
yeah,
minimum requirements. True.
Every single one who actually try to get into the scholarship will meet the minimum requirements. If you want to stand out, you have to do more. You always have to try to do more than that. So it's the first principle. So with things like test scores, it's not everything, but having good even like great test scores like IELTS test or TOEFL test or like GRE score will definitely help you to stand out. As you know, yeah, like as a participant.
Okay. All right. Okay. So of course that so so it means that there are still another factors, right? In this case, you still have another factors like not only the personal statement but also like the GRE test, or yeah, for you in this case, it's because you're applying to the United States, which means that GRE is one of the requirements, and also IELTS and also the TOEFL, IBT, I guess. Yeah, so that's actually one of the considerations as well to what is that to be chosen
Yeah.
to get
Well,
the scholarship.
yeah.
Okay.
At that time, I'm not sure whether it's still the same as of now, but at that time in 2016, it is allowed to apply for the scholarship without having the letter of acceptance in a university first. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
the position I was in at the time was that I graduated on May 2016, and I remember that July 2016 was the the deadline for the batch 3 of LPDP application, and for U.S. scholarship, U.S. universities, they only open admissions at the end of the year, so like around October, November. So I was a bit torn between waiting for an LOA to apply to the scholarship or just go. And what I decided was that I will apply to this scholarship without waiting for the LOA, but I will make sure that I can prove that I'm ready. So before even looking for the LOA, I took my IELTS test, I took my GRE. So it's not required to have a GRE score actually, but I did that because I want to show the scholarship provider
Right.
that I am ready, that I have all that is needed to actually get into the university. It's just that, the chances are not here yet.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it means that I can say that the LOA was the only document that you didn't provide at the
Yes,
time.
at that time, yeah. That's the
Okay.
only,
Yeah.
the only one that I.
Okay. But besides that, you've already submitted your GRE test. Even the scholarship providers didn't really ask that.
They
Yeah.
didn't,
At
they
the
didn't
time.
ask that.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
just
Okay.
trying to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
that,
But, yeah,
well,
but
I have
you what is that?
everything.
You submit that. Yeah. As part of your document, so to show that you are actually ready enough for this scholarship. Wow, that's cool. Well, that's really nice strategy. Okay, yeah, because I
Yeah.
guess that LOA is for the LPDP scholarship. I guess that LOA is one of the most prominent requirements that you need to provide.
Yes, yeah. It's just that someone without an LOA, to accept someone without an LOA will be a bit risky in a way because maybe this person will get the scholarship, but then they couldn't get into the university. Most of the times,
Sure.
it's because of the IELTS test. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's because of
Okay.
the
All right.
IELTS or TOEFL score. Because language barrier still exists in a way, especially if we're talking about like academic English. And I was quite lucky. I mean, I majored in English literature, so I didn't really have any problem with language. But most people who didn't study English or didn't use it in their daily life, of course, will struggle. And shaping and building your English skill is not something that can be done like overnight. There's
Yeah.
like a
Well, even
long
in a month,
process
let's
to
say.
do that. There's a long process to do that. And yeah, and so yeah, I guess they just want to be careful. But for Fulbright, I think LOA is not needed. So yeah, LOA is not needed. I believe it's not in their requirements. So with Fulbright, I believe that the process of looking for universities are actually after you get the scholarship. So they will help you with that. Yeah,
Okay.
if my memory serves me
So it
right.
reminds me to the Australian Award Scholarship as well. So they didn't really require the LOA, I guess. Yeah. The only, I guess that the only providers that requires an LOA is only LPDP though. That's as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Maybe there's also another scholarship that requires you to get the LOA first before you get the scholarship. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but the other
Because-
scholarship, I don't think like that though. Like the how do you call it? Fulbright and also the The Australian award, yeah, they don't really ask the LOA. Okay, so right now I'm going to jump to the next questions. So what do you need to apply for a scholarship? So like what kind of things, so that our audience can short the list, what needs to be prepared before you try to apply to this to a scholarship?
So first of all, I think most of them will require to have study plan or study objective. Just kind of like a document where you explain, okay, so I want to apply to this department in this university because my background is this and I want to continue to pursue this. So it's a study plan. You have to be able to kind of like realistically paint a picture of how your future study will look like and whether you will be able to accomplish all of your goals, like academically. So that's first. And then the personal statement or motivation letter, they will provide you questions to be asked usually. For example, with LBDP, usually it's like what was your contribution to the country, or what do you want to contribute in the future? Other scholarship will have different questions, and you just have to answer that. So it's just kind of like explaining your goal as a person. So if study plan is your academic plan, academic goal, this is your goal as a person. And then you also have to provide sometimes like academic writing sample. There's also, of course, CV. And I believe that AMINEF requires a list of writing publications. So all the writings that you have published during your life. There's also TOEFL, IBT, and IELTS score. Usually it should be less than 2 years after you take it. And then there's also letter of references. It's really important. And it makes it crucial that you maintain good relationship with your university professors or your employers at work or your seniors in the like volunteering organization, because they are the ones who can help you with the recommendations. And
Wait a minute. So talking about the letter of references, sorry to cut you here. So you previously mentioned that it doesn't have to be your lecturers or it doesn't have to be your professors and everything. So it can be your supervisors, managers, and everything like that.
Yeah. So of course, usually it requires like one from your university professors, because they can give you testimony to like how you are as a student. But if you have worked before, or if you have worked as a volunteer, then the people above you could be a good indicator of you as a person. And there are also scholarship providers who want to see that aspect of you. So yeah, so it doesn't have to be like university professors.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Is that all?
Okay, and then of course, academic transcript, diploma, and they usually require a translated copy, and you have to make sure whether the scholarship provider accept translated copy from the university, or you have to get a sworn translators, because there's a difference in there. So yeah, I think those are all the documents needed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it means that the transcript. So there are some of the providers that do not accept the transcription from the university. Instead, they need to translate that from the sworn translator.
Yeah, there's some who require that.
Right, I just realized that.
Yeah, but
because I guess that right now after the 2012 graduate, so most of university provide the
copy,
English version transcription, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I guess it really depends on the scholarship provider and then probably the university. I don't think so though. I think it just different scholarship providers require different thing, and always read very carefully about the requirements.
Okay. All right. So previously you also mentioned about the study plan, I guess, the study plan and also the personal statement. So so most of them are written in the, how do you call it, on the like a piece of paper, or it is usually included in the form, the application form?
It's different, I guess, depending on the scholarship. But mostly
Okay.
you just have to write it yourself without like any specific forms. Yeah.
Is there any certain format that you need to follow?
Not really. It's just that, follow the basic principle of writing. Just be straightforward, and use beautiful words. Beautiful in a way that it promotes the correct aspect of you. So maybe some people think that, being a leader of Agustusan is something that is small. But you could frame that as a way to show your leadership. So it's not only about what experiences did you have, but how that experience actually could show your qualities and then develop that qualities. So it's important to be able to write in a good framing, which is connected to that personal branding aspect.
Okay. Yeah. So that's related to your previous explanation about market yourself, right?
It's not about lying. So of course, don't lie about something that you don't have. It's just that, as a person, you have so many layers about you. You have so many things that you did in the past, and sometimes we get confused. Like, which one should I write? Because writing everything might not actually give you the the promotion that you need. So you have to be able to pick which ones are good, and then create a story with what you have.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it means that just pick certain stories that really represent you in the way of like leadership, or something related with the vision of the scholarship providers. Okay. That's cool. Okay. So you've mentioned several things though, like study plan and then the personal statement. And of course, if I'm not mistaken, based on my note here, you also need to prepare the academic writing sample. My question is, how long do you need to prepare this? So because it seems like it is like a huge amount of requirements. Like it consists of, I guess, based on my notes here. So you mentioned 7 points. So how long should you prepare for this?
I prepared, I think it was during my last year of university that I started preparing, because that was when I that's the point where I kind of like say to myself, okay, I want to be a university lecturer, so I have to get a master's degree abroad. That's when I decided that. So it's around my 7th semester-ish, and starting from that
Seventh
point,
semester.
yeah, I think starting from that point, I was kind of like already running for it. So I prepared for my IELTS. I started looking for like scholarships that can bring me there. I started looking for universities, programs that I'm interested in. I started talking to my lecturers about my plan, and then asked for their suggestions. So it's about, I think, 6 to 7 months at the very least, or even almost a year, actually, almost a year of preparation, because you have to do a lot of research and prepare a lot, of course. It especially took me the longest to prepare for the test, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
The test, you mean the IELTS and GRE?
Yes, the IELTS and GRE. So what makes studying in the US a bit more challenging is also that it requires GMAT or GRE as an additional, requirements. And I already forgot all of my math, and I just needed
Okay.
only GRE.
Yeah. True.
So, yeah.
I can say that. Well, that's one of the hardest things about GMAT and GRE is about the math, which
Yeah.
is done in English.
Maybe it's not a challenge for those studying engineering or studying in the
okay.
STEM department, but for us who studied in the humanities,
We're studying literature. Yeah. That's
we
gonna be so
erased-
much challenging.
Yeah, we already erased that information like years before.
Exactly. True.
I
And we probably need a time to recall the informations that we've got in our brain.
Yes, yeah, and at the time I didn't know a lot of resources. so I had to do everything alone. So I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't.
So you did that by yourself? So it means that you did the self-study for the GRE and GMAT?
Yes, I didn't take GMAT.
Wow,
I
it
took
was
the
insane.
GRE. I self-studied for that. Oh my god, that was horrible. Yeah. And then I didn't know the existence of Education USA, which is a big mistake. So I prepared everything alone, from the preparation until the application process, with the, writing the motlat and everything. I did everything alone, and I didn't recommend that. So, because you already, it's easier now to get resources. So
The
yeah,
guidance.
guidance, resources. It's easier right now. Everything is open for you guys. So if you could get help, get help. Yeah, it will definitely make things easier.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so and then like by getting a help for someone, so that's going to be a lot faster for you to to get into the like certain directions, right? And so you can just like be focused on preparing that, right? Instead of like do it yourself and search for informations. Yeah, because like searching for reliable information is like kind of difficult right now, right? So when you try to search the information from the internet, well, there are many sources, and then you don't really know like which one is the best for you, right? Yeah, I guess that asking for a help, like even starting from the the test preparations, and also like writing a mouthlet, and like writing anything like study plan, the personal statement. So that's going to be a lot better if you get a help from someone.
Yes, and I think it's right now, not only like big organizations such as Education USA, but I think you could even find help in like English courses. Like some of them do provide that kind of services.
Yeah, true.
So yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's gonna be our next idea, though. So we're gonna try to provide kind of scholarship academy that will provide informations for someone who are going to study abroad, like how to write a motivation letter, and then because right now we've already prepared the IELTS as one of the requirements for studying abroad, right? And but we haven't specifically create a cluster for for writing the motlet and then study plan and everything like that. Okay, all right. So so this is it related to this is gonna be my last questions, I guess. Oh, sorry, the second last questions. So it's you previously mentioned this before, if I'm not mistaken, about like how to be stand out. Okay. So most people find it struggling to get the minimum score for the IELTS, right? Like, some of the scholarship requires you to get 6.5, and then some of them also requires you to get 7.0. But I guess that 7.0 is a good band, I guess, right? 7.0 is a good band. So most university will accept 7.0. But in your opinion, by getting 7.0, does it can it guarantee someone to be accepted to get the scholarship?
Well, first of all, I guess there's no such thing as a guarantee in a way. And also, as I've mentioned before, everyone will meet the minimum requirement. Like every single one of them who apply to the same scholarship as you will meet the minimum requirements. So you have to do more to stand out. If the minimum requirement is 7, try to get more than that. 7.5.
Okay, 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5.
Or probably 8. Well, this is gonna be pretty hard though.
Yeah, it is hard. That's why you have to prepare.
It is. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's why you need to prepare. Yeah, well, I can say that this is hard actually. If you want to get like 7.5 or even 8.0, well, that's not the average score of Indonesian people.
Yeah, it's 6.5, right? Or 6.
Well, I guess that is 5.5 or 6 though. That's the average score. Yeah. But if you're like 7.0 or 7.5 or 8.0, well, that you need to stand out. So you need to give extra effort for doing that.
Yeah. Some people think that test, like English test, it's something that you can just, you get into one course, like 3 months, and then you took the test and that's it. Most of the times, if you don't have a good basic of English, and you don't really used to like academic English, that's not the case. Taking one set of courses and then taking the test will not give you the score that you need if you don't already have that basic. So you have to prepare a lot, because there's the worst case scenario that you are not ready even after you finished like one set of English course. So you have to be able to self-assess yourself. Where am I right now in terms of my English proficiency? If you already have good basic, then sparing like 5-6 months for that probably is enough. But if not, you might even need like a year to actually start building your basic and then go into a more academic English style that's required in IELTS. So self-assessing yourself is also the first step into preparation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, well, I guess that the financial problem is also one of the issues here. One of the biggest roadblocks if you want to join the test itself. It's because like the test itself takes like a huge amount of money, right? It costs $215 if I'm not mistaken. If we want to convert that into rupiah, so probably that's going to be 2.9 million. Well, for the test, so for the preparation itself, probably you need to spend around like $1 million until $2 million for doing the preparation. Yeah.
That's exactly why you need to prepare way before, because you want to make sure that when you do take the test, you are completely 100% ready for the test. So that's why give yourself a lot of time. So if at one point you took one course, for example, and you don't feel that it's enough, you still have more time to study, rather than waste your money in doing the test when you haven't actually be at a point that you're ready for that test. I think that in itself is a waste of money. So you want to make sure that you have enough time to really be prepared for the test.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that is something that's really important though. It's because sometimes like most of audience think that like by finishing a set of course, let's say one package, they are ready enough to jump directly to the IELTS test. But IELTS actually requires more than that, right? Well, sometimes it's more like it's not about the basic English anymore, but it's more like how to apply English in the daily activities, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like a good.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, even people who are good
in English.
I'm not.
They still find it struggling for doing an IELTS, right?
Not to mention those who might not be there yet in terms of like basic English proficiency. So it's a journey. Like getting there is a journey.
Okay, getting there is a journey. True. Okay, so it comes up to my last questions right now, Anindya. So can you sum up 5 suggestions for our audience here? Like what? So if they want to get a scholarship, what's going to be the best suggestions for them? Like try to come up with 5 best suggestions for them so that they can like navigate themselves to those 5 suggestions.
First of all, start as early as possible. You will need a lot of preparations, so there's no such thing as too early to start. Even making sure that you have good enough GPA in university is already like a preparation. So make sure that you give yourself enough time to prepare, and then do a lot of research. Do a lot of research before you actually begin. So don't just jump into applying. Research your scholarship, research your university, research your department, read a lot and watch a lot, and listen to a lot of people also who already experienced that. But just make sure that you study enough before you prepare, because that can give you, kind of like an illustration of like where to start and what will you need. So that's definitely it. And then for tests are not everything. It cannot guarantee you to get into the scholarship, But without a good test result, it will be even harder for you to get in. So yeah, it's not a guarantee. Yeah, it's not a guarantee, but still it helps. So you want to also make sure that you prepare a lot for that. And then have a lot of like backup plans, because story time. I got rejected 5 times before I got into NYU.
Okay, you got rejected 5 times. All right, it was a lot.
By 5 different universities, because I guess at that time I was overconfident, and I didn't really match my research with what the university needs, because that's very important in the major that I want to take. So I got, because of my lack of research and just me in general being too overconfident, I actually got rejected by five different universities. So yeah, so in a way, give yourself a lot of backup plans, because not everything will go your way
smoothly.
Yes,
Yeah. True.
Sometimes you want to, I want to go to the Ivy League, I want to go to the Columbia University, but then that's just not the way for you. So you have to get backup plan. Options. Give yourself options.
Not only like plan A and plan B, so even like C, D, E, F.
Plan
All right.
F or plan.
All right. Okay.
Z or something. So yeah, give yourself a lot of backup plans. Stuff like that do happen, like getting rejected and all of that. The last thing is just continuously try. If this is something that you really want, if this is your dream, just continue trying. In the process, you will hear people who ask you, like, why does it have to be the U.S.? Like, you can try other countries. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
Like, the US...
That was one of my questions, though. That was one of my questions to you when the first time you came to Discover English. So why this person needed to study in the United States, where the requirement is really hard to get there?
And it's hard. And it's so far away, and it's just like,
and it is far. Yeah. Right. It's 12 hours gap, right? And then if you want to go there, it takes like 20 hours or even more than 20 hours to get there, right? From Indonesia, right? Yeah. So tell me.
Why? Okay. Well, I have a professor in my undergraduate study that I really admire, and he graduated from the U.S. So he was just kind of like became my inspiration. Like, okay, I think if I studied in the US, I will be that great of a person. That was my simple thinking at the time. Also,
okay, so that was your simple thing.
Okay, if I want to be a great person, maybe I should, just like follow his step. And then I guess the idea of just being as far away as possible from the life that I had is just exciting. So if I have to be away from home, might as well make it the furthest, just go as far as possible and experience that. Because I believe that as human, when we are placed in that kind of situation, when we are completely alone and we have to rely on ourselves, that's when you can grow as a person the most. I just kind of like want to challenge myself in a way. So I guess that's, And also because in terms of like my study plan, that makes more sense, because I like dealing with like more contemporary issues and contemporary literatures, and I believe that the department in the US, like English department in the US, are more open to that kind of research. So that's why I think, and I heard about a lot back then, like, why do you want to go there? And like, just why don't you choose like several options? Like Australia is very good, and it's just very close to Indonesia.
Yeah.
Like so many good
universities. True. That's one of my considerations back then, actually, because Australia was really close. Even like it takes for about like 3 hours flight from Indonesia, like 3 to 5 hours flight.
Yeah, and great universities are there too. Like world-class universities with a really great majors are also there. But I don't know. It was just a dream, I guess. It was just something that I really want. And you just
it was
have
amazing.
to keep on trying, even if you failed and got rejected by 5 universities. You just have to keep on trying until you get it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Nindya, it was really inspiring, actually. So your story was really inspiring. It's because like yeah, so probably studying in the United States has always been like everyone's dream, right? Like especially for the educators. It's because yeah, well, I can say that I have a question here. So you know that in LPTP it has like multiple levels, right? So like someone who studied in the United States and then someone who studied in UK and everything. So I guess that I heard. So that's what I heard though. For those who are studying in the United States, it's always like in the top level among the others. Am I right?
Really? Well, I actually
Yeah,
don't
that's what
know.
I heard from my friend though. That's what I heard from my friend.
That's news for me because I guess in the academic environment, because that's where I am. It's more like you need diversity in a department. So you have people who focuses on like American studies, people who focuses on like British studies. You have someone who focuses on like world literature. So it's there's less rank like that, but more of a okay. So we have various people with various background together. So I guess that's because I am in that kind of environment. Honestly, I just heard of that. That's amazing.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I guess that it's because it needs like harder requirements to study in the United States. Yeah, well, I can say that for earning the scholarship you need an IELTS, but I guess that if you want to get an LOA for the university in the United States, you need to get the TOEFL IBT, which is actually more difficult, I guess, compared to the IELTS.
But but now most universities in the U.S. actually accept IELTS. I mean, I did with IELTS.
Yeah, that's a good news then.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I think IELTS as a test, well, I sound like I'm promoting IELTS, but it's not the case. But like Australia, the UK.
We are promoting IELTS though. We are really promoting IELTS.
I think IELTS is more flexible as a test because you could definitely use it everywhere. Like even in the US.
Exactly.
Even in the US, at that time I also heard that I don't think that IELTS can be used in the US, but they accept that. Most universities in the US accept IELTS. So yeah. So I guess it's more flexible. And it's also more fun to do IELTS.
True. That's also more fun to do IELTS compared to the IBT. Yeah, so I've tried to teach IBT once, but I didn't really find the pattern. Really, I didn't find really the pattern. So that's why, like, teaching IELTS is the way more fun, I guess.
It's fun, yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Anindya, for sharing on this podcast. Actually, so hopefully we can create another podcast which is actually a lot more inspiring, a lot of motivating for someone, especially for those who want to study abroad. It's because, studying abroad is always becoming like the biggest dream for educators. That's it. All right. Thank you very much, Anindya. I'm going to be seeing you around on the next podcast.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.